Excellent. Thank you so much there, Kelvin. Now we're going to go ahead and start off here with Oriana. Oriana, you're up.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. My name is Oriana Chan. I changed agencies recently. I now work for a direct lender broker called Fidelity Funding. Same thing. We have everything from first-time home buyer, the DREAM program, all the way through reverse. I specialize in 1 to 4 units residential lending. And if you need a loan, ask me first. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yay. Next we have Nancy Chen. Nancy, you're up.
Good morning. I like your chair, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Nancy Chen with Lawyer's Title. I'm still around. 1 phone call away, 1 text away, 1 email away. Let me know if you have any thing you need help with, open houses, whatever. Thank you very much, Nancy Chen, Lawyer's Title. Hi, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, ladies. They're like the dynamic duo. Wherever one is at, the other one is at. Okay, so here, I'm going to continue next here with John. John, you're up.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Kelvin, for allowing us to be here. I'm John Wax with SNAP NHD, Natural Hazard Disclosure Reports. Been in the business for 30 years. I'm here for you to answer your questions. Go on 3-way calls with your clients so they can understand what's going on with their properties and if they need to do anything like the FHDS car form or what the wildfire report is all about. I'm here for you. Also, we do have the free lease report for all your leases. It's a renter's report. It's flood zone only. And we do have a property tax estimator to help you out. I want to wish you a wonderful Easter coming up and Cesar Chavez Day on Monday. My information will be in the chat. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. And looking forward to help you guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you, John. Next here, it is Scott. Scott, you're up.
Hey, everybody. So that California Dream for All program is getting rolled out. The lottery is going to happen. Apparently, it's April 3rd, if I got this right. But it's a great program if you can get lucky enough to get, chosen. What they're going to do is they're going to have a lottery. You get picked, and then you have 90 days to find a house. But first thing you got to do is get pre-approved. So if you're going to try and do this, get with whoever your lender is going to be. Hopefully it's me, but get with your lender, get your pre-approval, get in the lottery, try to get picked. If you don't get picked, then I have some first-time home buyer programs where, we can give up to $15,000 of closing cost credit. We have a 0% down conventional. Those might work for your clients. But the California Dream for All, it's 20% or 150,000, whichever is lower. So, like I said, it's a great program if you get lucky enough to get picked. So, but got to get on it now before I get locked out. Scott Shimamoto, Journey Mortgage Advisor. Your deal is no joke to me. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Next who I see here is Sandy. Sandy, you're up.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So I just want to remind you guys that you are a CRES office, regardless of which side of the transaction you are on. It is in your best interest and in your client's best interest to make sure your transaction closes with a CRES home warranty. If you are the listing agent, I know that we usually defer the home warranty to the buyer's side. You need to guide that to a CRES home warranty. It protects your seller with their own E&O insurance up to $50,000 for the first 6 months, should the buyer go crazy and decide to sue. Don't leave that valuable information a secret. It is something that can help you get your listings as well. You have a tool that not a lot of other agents do. Use CRES to your advantage. I can help you with that. I'll leave my info in chat. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Sandy. And I'm checking here to see what other affiliates we have. Are there any affiliates that I'm missing here? We have a lot of agents, which is fantastic. I like that people are paying attention to the email blast, the WeChat announcements, and the personal invites. Let me see here. Who else do I see? Okay, looks like I see Unita here. Unita, you're up. Are you there, Unita?
Oh, good morning. How are you? I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to get in. Hi everyone. Unita Wu from Home Warranty of America, the 13 months home warranty. Just want to give you guys a call to say hello. If there's anything that I can do for you, feel free to reach out to me. My information, I'm gonna put it on the chat. And 13 months home warranty, we do give additional 1 month free. And thank you again for all your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and call out. I don't see any of the affiliates here. If there's an affiliate that I've missed or is just signing on, please let me know. Going once? Going twice? Okay, thank you very much, affiliates. You're always welcome to stay. We appreciate your support here, and we care about you so much. I'm going to go ahead and continue with this quote. And the quote is, when one door closes, buy another one and open it yourself. This one right here is an anonymous person that shared that. I thought it was kind of different and makes sense. Internalize that how you want it and how it fulfills your needs in your life where you're at today. With that said, I want to also, I know it's going to be a long meeting. It's going to be a really good one, lots of information for our broker. But I do have all the caravan information. I'm not going to go over the articles. I'll post them here in our office, but there's quite a bit of articles that were shared from CRMLS, and there's a lot of information there. Total of 11 properties on the market today. In Temple City, there was 1, Sierra Madre 3, Arcadia 2, Monrovia 3. So properties are out there. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our broker owner, Kelvin Chang. Kelvin, thank you very much for the opportunity yesterday. I went over to Menifee, came back safe and have lots of knowledge, but I will go ahead and type that up, share it, and just put the main focus on the wealth of information that you are going to share with every single one of us today in today's time. So let's welcome our broker with a hand applause.
Okay, I don't need a round of applause. I'm appreciative that many of you have actually read your emails yesterday and have decided to join us today for our sales meeting, because I think it's very important as a broker to be sharing some insight about what's going on in our industry and the numerous copycat litigation lawsuits against NAR, against our realtors industry-wide. And if we're not on top of this or we're not aware of the changes, we're going to really be left behind in the dust. So thank you all. I have 24 of you in today's sales meeting. Appreciative, and we definitely are going to be covering more material regarding this. So I'll spend more time on this than the normal slides that we do or the economic updates. This is, to me, a little bit more imperative to share the updates. And I hope a lot of you had the opportunity to read that email yesterday. If you didn't receive it, I definitely want you to just email or let us know, because I'm going to start sharing what that email looked like. Yesterday, I shared an urgent email about NAR settlement with the Department of Justice. Let's get the facts straight. So that's probably what encouraged many of you to join today. And we're going to be covering a lot about what it is, what the whole issue and dispute is about. We're going to cover what NAR is doing on our behalf to defend the copycat lawsuits. And then we're going to talk about the industry, who's the winners and the losers, pros and cons of what's going to be proposed as a settlement. And we're going to be going ahead and talking about how we're going to have to change our practices. So that's a highlight that I wish for you guys to stay tuned on. I have a few slides to go over before we get into the nit and gritty of all of this going on. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen with the presentation. Okay, hopefully you guys do see this large beach.
I see it.
Next line. Thanks, John. And I do appreciate all our affiliates for joining us today. We have a lot to cover. We let the affiliates speak. Many of them are also aware, because I can tell you realtors at every brokerage right now are in flames and with their hands up and going, what the heck is going on? And how am I going to earn my buyer's agent commission? So there's a lot of stuff, not just in my eyes, it's in everyone's brains right now. What is really going to be the new normal for realtors and especially for buyer brokers? Let's start with the Socrates quote, who's a great philosopher and someone who actually overruled Plato. He says, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And the old way of thinking from Plato's philosophy was that the world was flat. Everyone in the world thought, hey, the world's flat. America, Russia, all the other countries, and this is a big world. But they all thought that the sun revolved around the earth. That was Plato's thinking, philosophy. And it turns out in reality, our world our planet Earth is round. We all know through science and through discovery. Socrates proved that the Earth actually revolved around the sun. Okay. And that's a major, major, major big change. This is all thousands and thousands of years ago. But it just kind of just shows that it, when you really put your mind on something and think and you prove, I mean, Socrates was really instrumental in history because he was able to prove this. So he got the whole world to change the way of thinking. And right now, we're going to have to change the way we're thinking about the practices and the way we're going to work with buyers. So that's just a little bit of a highlight or a teaser of what we're going to have to do. Ultimately, I'm going to have to tell you, it's going to be, you're going to learn how to embrace change because there's no other outcome I see. I do believe this settlement, even though it's in a proposal stage with the Department of Justice, I do believe this NAR settlement will be effectuated in the near future, and the changes will start rolling in mid-July. So we have more sales meetings and trainings to cover a lot of this material, covering a lot about value proposition of you as a buyer, as a realtor. We're going to cover a lot more stuff focused on the changes that we're going to have in our impact in our industry. But I will still continue to teach, disclosures, contract law, a lot of the stuff that you guys have on your mind. So continue to stay in training. That's the best thing you can do for your business. We do have Sandy, Brandon, and Angie tag teaming another First American training. And this topic is going to be tomorrow. All you need to know about claims. This is going to be 12:30 with First American, and then we have 1:30 back to back. This is going to be another presenter, homes.com. I put this one back to back for a longer training because David Ballou represents the newly acquired homes.com website. They are purchased and owned now. The parent company is CoStar and LoopNet. So what homes.com is doing is trying to create an entire new platform revamped for the consumer and for the agents. So this new program, homes.com, they are going to be having some industry insight. What CoStar is known for is the data and the verified data that they have regarding, the values of properties and doing CMAs. They're going to bring a lot of that data into neighborhoods. They're going to be able to break down and have videos of every single zip code out there. And I thought it was very powerful content enough to share with all of you. So I hope you can make this live for 12:30 and then 1:30 for homes.com. And you kind of got to learn about this portal because it is going to be competing directly with Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com. And so these are going to be, if you look right here, these are going to be the 4 powerful tools and websites that most buyers and tenants are shopping on for homes. So these are the big 4. Hope you can join us tomorrow. Since we didn't have a sales meeting last 2 weeks ago, I was actually traveling in South America on a cruise. But I still want to remember the March babies. Sylvia and I always want to make sure we're doing this as just thanking you and representing and celebrating your birthdays. So happy birthday to all of you if you celebrated in March. And let me start out with, again, a reminder. Realtors do roughly 167 things for your clients, whether you're a buyer or a seller agent. There's so much that you do in your practice that you don't even think about. Some of it is just thinking about just just preparing your analysis or the research you do, the number of times that you have to drive to the property. Some of you guys forget about the gas that you have to spend and the numerous showings to the appraiser, to the home inspector, to the roof inspector and the electrician. A lot of you forget that you have to do double the work or triple the amount of work when your property falls out of escrow and you got to start all over again. So I'm just putting this in front of you because this is on the website Smart Zone for Realtors, NAR's CAR's website. And the reason why is I wanted to put it in there is because you are going to need to start understanding your value that you deliver to a seller or to a buyer, whichever client you're working with. And sometimes you have to write 10 offers on 10 different homes with the buyer. Sometimes you're going to have to show 50 homes to that same buyer. And sometimes you have to show it again because that buyer wants to bring their mother and father or a relative or a friend to see it too. And you end up coming back to that property multiple times, even before any contract or commitment of commission is paid to you as a buyer's agent. And I want you to understand, start counting the amount of hours that you are spending towards a client or a buyer or a tenant or a seller. And you'll realize that there's many hours being spent that the consumer, the buyer and the seller don't realize how much effort and energies and time you put into doing one single transaction. So this is a website for you to go through when you're writing down your value proposition, when you're rehearsing your script, whether it's a listing presentation or a buyer's presentation. You should be able to have a script that you're going to internalize, rehearse, and be able to deliver that great script, justifying why you're going to be negotiating for your own commission. That's going to be the theme of today. So let me pause there. And
Calvin, may
yeah,
I
go ahead.
interrupt for just 1 second? I'd like to share, if I may, something that I captured on one of our colleagues of what now agents are starting to do on social media. So what this agent did was, this is what exactly he posted. People are starting to feel like they need to justify their job description. So this agent put on here, 2 months of preparation, 10 days on the open market, 3 open houses over 2 weekends attended by over 240 people, 27 private showings, 3 times an agent locked the front door, and so it couldn't open from the outside. 2,400 views on Zillow, 17 offers in hand. The market for residential real estate is strong right now and good for preparation, yields incredible results. So this is just one. There are other agents now, they have fee schedules. They're putting together fee schedules, so that I'm glad that you're going to touch on all this. I just wanted to share this. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a fee schedule. And let me remind, let's say you're an agent and certain brokers, I don't know how they're going to practice or adapt. I don't know if they're going to allow agents to collect a fee for showing a home. Let's say your fee is, each home you want me to show you will be $50. Okay, just imagine a world like that. Okay, that client should not be in the eyes of the Department of Real Estate. Then this is separate from the whole entire Department of Justice settlement. Department of Justice wants you as a realtor practitioner to negotiate your commission up front with your buyer, for example, to negotiate that fee that you're going to earn if you represent them successfully into the purchase of a contract of a home. But then the Department of Real Estate does not want you to get paid directly from a consumer. So you have a conflict of instruction where they want you to, well, because you technically independent contractors can charge by the hour let's say $100 an hour for my services. And you technically could, but all compensation must be done through the broker. So the consumer would have to pay the broker, then the broker can pay you, the licensee, for services rendered to a client in the consummation of a transaction. It's complicated. So I don't know how, if people or agents are really going to go into an hourly wage type of thing. That is a possibility for some brokers, but I don't see that something that most brokers will be doing. Most people are going to be relying on faith, the relationship. So the relationship with you and your client, where you set the proper expectation up front that I expect to make a certain amount of X amount of commission or dollars, a flat fee, for representing you in the purchase. That's going to be what we're going to practice. So any other questions before I begin? All right, I'm going to bring forth something really quickly because I am actually working with a buyer today. My buyer happens to be shopping for a property here in San Gabriel Valley. And so I already set up a showing for tomorrow. My client put a heart on a property that I send them on my auto emails that triggered me to go ahead and call my client up and say, hey, I noticed you put a heart on your property. You visited your portal. Which property? I see you put a heart on something. Great. Let's go ahead and schedule an appointment. So I called the client up and she put a heart on, and we are going to go see, I believe it is Marshall Street. Yes. The only reason why I'm bringing this up right now, because I'm starting to see, just even though the effects of the negotiability of buyer's commission is not even implemented until mid-July, supposedly, the ripple effects, the industry impacts is already taking place today. How? Because I'm already seeing that this listing is offering a 1% buyer's agent commission. Then the agent writes, oh, the buyer's agent commission is negotiable based upon the strength of your offer. Submit a commit package with the RPA and this. Photos do contain virtual staging. Okay. So in this situation, you're going to start seeing this in your MLS when you're the properties and you're showing homes to your clients. Some of you may be okay with 1%. Others, like myself, I expect to make more. I want to make more because I do a lot of value for my client in negotiating for them. So what is going to happen? I'm either going to have to submit a CBC form, cooperating broker commission, for a higher amount, let's say 2% or 3% or whatever it is that I feel. And I also have to get my client, hopefully, to step up to get it to acceptance at the same time. But the question becomes, well, what defines my commission based upon the strength of the offer? If you read into this, what is a strong offer? It's not necessarily price. It could be terms. So the strong offer is different from the eyes of a listing agent, and a strong offer could be very different from the eyes of a seller. Whose opinion am I going to be asking this strength of offer? Okay, because a seller might be looking at price, and a strong offer in my eyes is all cash. Okay, but maybe I'm not the highest. So I don't know who's defining the strength of the offer. If you are in my shoes, it's prudent of you, if you are interested in engaging in negotiations, before sending your offer, you're going to want to call that listing agent and define what is strength of the offer. And a suggestion to you would be, well, Luis, I do expect and want to be earning about 2% commission for representing a buyer and bringing you a qualified, bona fide purchaser with a strong offer. However, I'm uncertain, based on your private remarks, what is the commission expectation for me to earn around 2.25%? Because I don't know what strength of offer means. Can you please elaborate and clarify Mr. Luis Gomez, because you wrote this. What is deemed to be a strong enough offer for me to earn 2.25%? And is this strong strength of offer determined by you, listing agent, or is this determined by the seller? Because sometimes the seller has a different need. Maybe they're not interested in price. Maybe they're interested in closing this ASAP. My qualified buyer is actually all cash. And technically, a strong offer from my eyes would be we can close in 10 days. You're going to have to start negotiating and understanding and asking clarifying questions, whether by phone or an email. All I'm going to tell you is once you've determined and defined strength of offer, you're going to want to have that in writing, whether it's text or email, so that way this agent does not go back on their word that you asked for. Okay? A lot of this is going to be complicated. So that's just one example of one home that I am now already seeing the ripple effects of negotiating on your commission. But it's still the same. I'm not saying it's any different than before because many brokers in our San Gabriel Valley have offered 1% before. They have offered $1 or $100 before. So it's essentially very similar to that same situation that we've been having for the past several years of brokers putting down a low BAC compensation advertised in MLS. That's all going to change. Okay. Imagine the world now where, and this is the new normal, the settlement of the NAR is going to basically say, if you're going to use the MLS to broadcast your listings, listing agents will not have the option to advertise a buyer's agent commission. So it cannot be on there at all if you're going to put it on the MLS. You can put offers of compensation in private groups, private emails, or private advertisements on your social media, but the MLS will be off limits for offering compensation. However, you can incentivize a buyer. That's a nice little trick to let you know that a listing agent may say, seller will reserve $10,000 for buyer's closing costs or to buy down your rate. Okay, you can give a concession of $20,000 to assist a buyer in remodeling and renovation expenses. So yes, you can advertise in the description concessions to a buyer, like $15,000 to pay off the solar lease. So all of that stuff can be advertised. I'm going to push back and say it might even be able to say $20,000 concession to buyer's closing costs to help a buyer pay for their own buyer's agent commission. Okay. I don't know if that's allowed or not, but if that's given to the buyer and the buyer can then negotiate their own commission with their buyer's broker, that technically is a solution. Okay. That
So
is still
Kelvin,
in compliance.
Kelvin, question. So you're saying as our broker that it's okay for us to do that, right? I mean, after July, are we good to do that? Because we don't know
Which
if
one?
it's allowed.
I just gave like 10
Mhm.
strategies. Which one?
We're talking about the strategy number 2, the one where a seller can give $20,000 concession towards buyer's commission.
Yes, I would say that, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be in a form that is approved that I would suggest you follow. So first of all, let's go back into, and do you guys see my screen right now regarding NAR settlement facts?
Yeah.
FAQs? Yes, okay, right? So the NAR did propose this settlement, and what are the key terms? The releasing liability of all NAR brokers, all state and local realtor associations, all the state-owned MLSs and all the brokers that belong to NAR, except for Home Services of America. Home Service of America still is fighting the case of the Sitzer-Burnett, and they did not agree to settle. So everyone except for Home Service of America is covered in this liability copycat lawsuits. Okay. Now, what is going to happen? all broker entities, they're going to pay over the course of 4 years, 400 and something million, $418 million settlement to the plaintiffs. Okay. Ultimately, the plaintiffs aren't really going to get much. The plaintiffs will receive a very small amount because this is shared between all the sellers. The real true winner of this lawsuit is the plaintiff's attorney. They'll get a big chunk of this for 18 million, maybe 200 million or so. And half of that is going to be taken away, really just paying over the attorneys. Who are the plaintiffs? These are sellers that past realtor brokers have sold their home, probably got the market value and top dollar for their home. And now these same sellers who already received a great amount of equity and top dollar for the property, now they're complaining that they overpaid for services and overpaid for the buyer's representation fee. So they're trying to get more money from what they already sold. They already benefited. They already got the cash. And now they're saying they overpaid the buyer's agent and basically are basically sticking their hands out. The losers, I already said who's the winners, the attorneys. The losers, it's everyone else, okay? Sellers aren't going to benefit from this. Listing agents may benefit from this. Buyer's agent definitely don't benefit from this. And the buyers, who knows what's going to happen, okay? I don't know, most buyers are sharp and savvy and sophisticated enough to look at homes themselves, but to represent themselves in the purchase of a home and all the nuances of title and escrow and easements and CC&Rs and HOAs, property defects, asking for negotiating for repairs, all of that stuff. I don't trust a first-time buyer being able to accomplish this in their favor without the help of a realtor. But that's my opinion. Now, what's the major change? NAR has agreed to put in place a new rule prohibiting any offer of compensation on the MLS to a buyer's agent. Offers of a compensation could continue to be an option consumers can pursue off MLS, meaning a buyer's agent can still call a listing broker and say, what are you going to offer if I bring you full price? Okay, you can still negotiate offline through a phone or email or communications. And this is going to be just like it was in the past before our MLS, where we had all that data. You would have to call up the listing agents and try to find out what properties they have on market and what properties do they have off market. This is proposed to go in mid-July. Now, right here is where Sylvia asked me, sellers can, I'm telling you, the proposal says sellers can offer buyer concessions on an MLS. My strategy to you was saying seller is willing to help $20,000 towards buyer's recurring and non-recurring closing costs. In the private remarks, I would write this $20,000 closing costs could be your buyer agent commission. Okay.
Question, Calvin.
But that's for me to determine with going this through legal. Yes, Nilafar.
Can we say in the agent's remarks, call me for the seller's concessions to
Yes.
our buyer's agent?
Yes.
Thank you.
So you probably will have to do some welcome saying, due to the NAR settlement, all agents I welcome all agents to contact me via phone or email what the seller is willing to offer to assist you to earn your commission. Okay. Now you can welcome it, and I say that that is a good practice when this takes change. The settlement payment is for $818 million. That's all really just going to go into the plaintiffs and their attorneys. And the allegations that we are antitrust, that we're a monopoly, that we unfairly increase the costs of buying a home, because of we're greedy realtors, those are all denied by NAR. We continue to allege that those are all, just because we settle does not mean we admit guilt, okay? So that is something that we should stay and remain consistent in our theme of understanding of this whole lawsuit. Sylvia, raise her hand, and then I'll have Colin Scott. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, so my concern here is that listing agents, as it is, the not so good listing agents, are not being mindful of returning. They're not cooperating, any communication, emails, texts. So how do you foresee, how do you anticipate, how do you forecast this is going to go in the direction of the listing agents? The listing agents now are going to be in full control, may not even be compelled to respond to texts, emails, or calls. That's a concern.
Yep.
And I know it's a valid concern. So what would you say to us?
I will tell you that this type of lack of cooperation. Okay, let me just explain the whole situation from the eyes of what really goes on. Before the NAR settlement, a listing broker like myself, I'm doing a justice for buyer agents because I'm going out talking to a seller, persuading them about getting them top dollar for their home. But at the same time, I'm negotiating a total commission that includes a listing broker and a buyer's broker. So let's just say I went out there and asked for 5% to that seller, and the seller agrees to share half for me, half for the buyer's broker. And so this is going to be a situation in which I'm advocating for a buyer's agent. I'm negotiating for them. Okay. All what the new normal is now saying is I don't need to negotiate for a buyer's broker anymore. That it should be done by that representative. That should be done by that. That's a service that a buyer should be shopping for and having the ability to control what they pay for their own representative. So the Department of Justice wants us to sever that line. Do not want listing agents to advocate for someone else's fees. Let that independent contractor negotiate their own fees. I should now only negotiate for my listing fee of, let's say, 2.5%. Seller, sign my listing agreement. We won't put any advertisement towards the buyer's broker. But my job for you, if I'm a good realtor, is to set a proper expectation with the seller that just because we do not advertise a buyer's broker fee, there may be buyers who come with representation and the offers that the realtors present to us and share with us for you to consider. They may include a request for compensation to the buyer's broker, and it could be a flat fee of $1,000. It could be 3%. We won't know what that's going to be until these offers come in. We can allow these buyers to shop and choose their own representatives and choose to pay their own representatives. But some of those buyers agents may indicate on their offer a request from the seller. And doesn't matter, you don't have to pay it. The world, this whole industry, you don't have to pay that buyer's broker. We can negotiate it. Or let's just say that buyer broker is asking for $20,000, 2%. Okay, sure. You as a seller say, I do not want to pay that $20,000. I just want the buyer's offer only. And the buyer's offer is $1 million. I'm going to tell you, seller, in that situation where you only want a $1 million sales price, don't want to pay the buyer's broker fee of $20,000 of requesting. How about this, seller? Let's counter them $1,020,000 so we can honor that $20,000 buyer broker fee. You still will get that $1 million net. Okay, we'll counter them $1,020,000. So you're not really paying for it. We're making that buyer pay for it. The good thing of this strategy, seller, is that buyer gets to finance that $20,000 commission that their buyer's agent is getting to pay over the course of a 30-year conventional loan. So that they can afford this through payments. They don't have this usually money up front out of pocket to be able to pay their buyer's agent immediately. That is why we should counter them as $1,020,000. You'll get your $1 million net. The buyer's agent's happy with their $20,000. And now, okay, let's get this deal wrapped up. So I want to set the expectation and educate the seller how commissions will be negotiated and paid, and the potentially some buyers may not come with representation too. So I'll teach that part as well. But Scott, you have your hand up?
I just wanted to say that you just have to be very careful and work closely with your lender if it's going to be a financed purchase.
Yep.
Because there's some limitations on how big the credits could be, the seller credit, based on the type of program. And then the other piece of it is you need to make sure that if you're going to offer 20,000 more in order to cover, commissions, et cetera, you have to just make sure that you feel like your appraisal is going to hit that amount too. So I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. I'm just saying you need to work closely with your lender to make sure that when you make that offer, all this stuff is going to fall into place. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to just throw that offer out there and then tell the lender after the fact, and then you might get in escrow, and then you find out, oh, it's not going to fly because this is going over that limit. And
well, yeah, just to answer that part, yes, you're right about the appraisal maybe not hitting $1,020,000, but it hit $1 million. In that scenario, in that hypothetical situation, you go ahead and still counter the buyer. Sales price to be $1 million. Okay. Wow.
I'm just saying that just work closely with the lender, because when you're running the numbers,
yeah,
and then there's also the situation where if it's under $1 million, then it's possible to get an appraisal waiver too.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can have your lender run DU with that address, and then if that address is at 950,000, say, mm-hmm. and the offer listing price is 900, but you offer 950 or whatever, you might get an appraisal waiver if it's under $1 million. If it's over $1 million, then you're gonna have to do an appraisal.
Okay.
There's some it's so new that nobody really knows what's going to happen. I'm thinking the industry is going to go towards, they're going to let you just finance the buyer commission. That's what I think is going to happen. So then we're not messing around with all this stuff. But until it happens, it doesn't. Well, that's common sense for me. That's common sense. But just because it's common sense doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Okay.
But I just want to.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that part. Okay, so I want to get through most of this. Is it possible for offers of compensation to be conveyed through channels other than MLS? Yes, your offers of compensation could continue to be an option. You can share with off MLS negotiations and consultations with other real estate professionals. So I believe there's going to be now a way where you're going to have to start becoming a networking person. You're going to have to be able to network and get into whatever groups or WhatsApp or WeChat groups or social media or Facebook groups where people can offline share properties and share potential commissions or share anything going on the side to help market your listings. So you're going to probably need to do some of that. Maybe creating your own databases as well. That's very important. So it just allows the consumer to have choice of their buyer's agent and how much services they want from that buyer agent. Some buyers say, I'm very smart and sophisticated. I don't think my agent needs to do anything except for just write the offer for me. I'm so smart, I'm intelligent and experienced. So I just want to pay $1,000. I want an agent to help represent me and just write the offer only. Okay. Some buyers have that ability to do that. After mid-July, they'll just say to their own, fine, I want a discount broker, just write the offer only. Okay. And so some buyers that are sophisticated and experienced can negotiate that low. And some buyers, first-time buyers, might still really want the full services of a realtor, and they may be willing to continue to advocate for 2.5% and get that done. You're going to need to have a buyer-broker agreement mid-July if you want to be having your services protected under a written agreement. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that, protection of a written agreement. For the beginning of time of I've been in real estate, my buyers, and I've worked with 100, okay. I've actually never put a buyer into a buyer broker a contract. Okay. I work on good faith. I work on a handshake with my client, and I trust in my relationship with that myself, what I offer, that they come to me when they want to write that offer. Many of you operate that same way. So if we've never had that issue or had this to put our buyer into contract, we've been working on the faith of the MLS of providing whatever commission is being offered to be paid to us if we get into a transaction and close it. Okay? That's going to change. If we do not have the faith of the MLS any longer, there's no promise or requirement and duty of a commission being paid to me from the seller, I'm going to need to learn how to use that buyer broker agreement. And there still will be the ability to request a commission from the seller. Okay, it's not going to change that dramatically. It's just that we have to spend more time asking and educating our client about getting paid, because my services technically aren't free. So how is that going to look like? Okay. What's going to be needing to do, and I want to cover this before I start opening up more questions because we're running lower on time. Right here, I have a buyer broker agreement. What the new normal mid-July wants us to do, and you can start doing it today. The forms are here today, but this is when they're effectuated. You could, if you want to what's called protect yourself from not wasting your time, you're supposed to now start learning how to advocate and negotiate your worth, what you're going to be earning, and your expectations. How many of you ever go to an attorney and said, I want your services for, and the attorney is going to say, well, based upon this, my hours, my rate is this. I would like to retain it for $5,000, $10,000. And all of these attorneys set the expectation up front, what the fees and costs will be. And they take it up front. The good thing about the bad thing about our industry is we get it only at the very end of the closing, a commission. So we're going to have to start learning how to negotiate our fees. How many of you go over to a, I don't know, any service, any repair contractor, okay? They're going to give you a bid. They're going to make you sign an estimate or a promise, and they're going to put you into a contract before they start working on your property. Yes? Okay. How many of you go to a dentist and before they start performing work, they make you sign something saying that you have to pay X amount for that cavity, you have to pay this amount for your cleaning, and this amount for your whatever you're doing with your dentist. Okay, they make you sign something up front before rendering services. So why are you agents in this practicing real estate with your buyers, providing free services and driving around town and wasting 10, 20, 30 hours on 20 different homes without any contract? It makes no sense, right? So now you're going to have to explain that to a buyer. I want to spend all this time with you. I want to educate you about the process. I want to show you 20, 30, 50 homes and get you to finally your dream home. Okay. My company has been guiding people home for over 113 years. Technically, this is an old slide. We've been guiding people home since 1904 is the beginning of Coldwell Banker. So one new change in our industry is not going to change Coldwell Banker's ultimate, we're the longest players in the game. So anyway, I filled this out. I emailed this to you yesterday, how to complete it. You're going to give them an agency disclosure. You're going to let them know that we will not discriminate against you and our consumers. We are not going to ask you questions regarding your race or ethnicity, and we're going to follow fair housing laws. Okay? So we may be representing multiple buyers. So I do have a listing that I might be representing a seller in San Gabriel, and I also have many buyers for Rosemead, and I know you're shopping in Rosemead, client. There may be some conflicts. I'm representing multiple people. I'm very busy. But if you want my time is very valuable. Buyer, if you would like, there is a very important explanation that we should need to discuss before we engage in my services as your agent. We talked about showing you property, talked about you want to buy under $2 million. You want to buy here in Los Angeles or San Bernardino County. Due to all the litigation against NAR and the industry, buyer agents are now suggested and recommended to start discussing representation and our involvement in assisting buyers. And for me, my services fees, because I do have to drive to San Bernardino sometimes, it is, a distance. I do want to have a protection in place or an agreement that we discuss together. And I prepared an example agreement for us to discuss where I have an expectation to be earning about 2.5% commission, which is basically what was the rate that I always been charging since the beginning of my time. And I give you my exclusive representation. I will promise you to do this. My guarantee is here. Here's my written promises and terms. And I work weekends. I'm going to work evenings after hours. I'm going to sacrifice a lot to make sure that we get into these properties as soon as possible, because we don't want to be missing out on the good homes always get sold fast. Okay. And so the duration of this, it could be 6 months, it could be 1 year, it could be whatever you write and fill out in your buyer broker agreement. And you can specify a price range. You can specify the county. You can specify cities or a specific list. Like, okay, you don't want to sign a forever contract. That's fine. I get it. You don't want to sign a 364-day contract with me, but will you sign it for the properties that I show you? Okay, so every time I go to show property, I would just use this form and only use it for the following list or the following 5 homes that I showed them in that one day. And we'll take it day by day using a buyer broker agreement, day by day for each showing. If you do like one of these homes that I show you, okay, let's go ahead and establish that this is my rate for those particular homes. Okay. Now I can also just say, well, next week, buyer says, well, I don't want an exclusive representation. Okay, then you can have what's called broker involvement then. This is non-exclusive. So a buyer can negotiate and say, well, I have 3 other family members or friends that are my agents too. So I want non-exclusive. So then I'll only do it for the properties that they decide to want me as a local broker to show them 3 homes that they found online or whatever. I'll take this contract with me. Before opening the door, I'll ask him to sign it for these 3 properties only. Okay? So that's how you're going to probably, as one way, you can start using this form. Okay? Now, this is the way I wrote this one in my illustration examples as the strongest protection for a buyer's agent. So I made it exclusive. I made it so that neither party has the right to cancel this agreement except mutually. And I also made it to have 90 days of protection period for any compensation to be offered after the cancellation of this agreement. Meaning the buyer cannot just cancel with me today. I showed them a property yesterday they liked, and then tomorrow they write it with another agent. I kept this effective for 90 days following the cancellation or expiration of our agreement. So they would have to wait a whole 3 months before they can write that offer with their sister from another mother. So everything else is defaulted pretty much to the same. And I want you to read it because this is your agreement and the buyer's obligations. Notice the word good faith is written on here. Okay, that's a very gray term that's arguable. And notice there's reasonable care and services that they have to read every document that they have for, they can't just sign. Buyer shall notify any material issues that they have with any property. I'm not going to explain too much about that. But here you have dispute resolution. You have the ability to have mediation and discussed between you and your client. And you can indicate any special mutual terms or special arrangements. You could write it up in here. You can add an addendum, okay? And so as time progresses, I might provide you guys an addendum that you may want to use in your businesses that will protect you. I will have to write it up, get it legally approved, and see if I can share that with you. And that's it. You have buyer sign here, buyer signs here. Okay.
Question.
All right. Who's got questions? Nilafar, heard you.
Kelvin,
Yep.
what if the seller's agent got the commission of 5 or 6%?
Yep.
Meaning that saying that 2 or 3% commission to the buyer, and you sign this commission agreement with your buyer. And what do you do there?
If I sign this commission agreement with the buyer, remember the form does not necessarily mean that the buyer has to pay this 2.5%. What this means is accounting for payments to broker by others. Read right here. If anyone compensates the broker for services covered by this agreement, that amount is credited towards the buyer's obligation. So you said the listing agent is willing to share that 5%, half of it to me, okay? And I get paid 2.5% from the listing broker. Then this buyer is not obligated because all of that amount that the listing agent gave to me is credited towards the buyer's obligation. Read right there in D. I highlighted it. Okay?
Yes.
There is situation where, let's say I take them to NAR and NAR Homes gives me 3%. Okay? My buyer's duty to me is 2.5%, but I found them in NAR, they signed a referral agreement. And if third-party payments received exceed the buyer's obligation, the excess amount shall be paid to broker, which is by default. So now I get to earn 3% instead of 2.5%. Or I have to credit the excess to the buyer, or to be shared 50-50. I can check a box. We'll share any excess together. Okay?
Great.
So that's the answer is this only makes a contract where, let's say the seller now says, well, I'm only paying 2%. You can do whatever you want. I'm only going to pay you 2%. That's it. So now I get paid 2% from the seller. That's credited towards the buyer's obligation. The 0.5% difference between my expectation, I would either A, bring this contract to escrow so that I get paid the other 0.5% at closing, or B, I'm going to have to renegotiate with this buyer and say, can you pay me this as a closing cost, please, please, please? Or I might have to raise the white flag and surrender it and just say, forget about it. Or 3, I go ahead and close the transaction. If there's a dispute, close it at 2%, and then you pursue the 0.5% with me as your broker. We pursue it against your client. I don't want to be suing your clients, to be quite frankly, for a 0.5%, but we would be entitled to. Entitled just means you have the right of way to do it. And because you have a written contract and you have a completed sale, I don't want you to hold up a sale for a 0.5%. Close the damn transaction, and we determine in the next 2 or 3 years of statute of limitations, we decide whether you want to pursue that 0.5% or not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's going to be the way the new normal is going to be. Okay. Now there's another form. Oh my God. Okay. Is there any other questions? Okay. If not, let me go into the sales meeting slides, because I know a lot of you guys have some homes you want to promote, and then I go back to any more of this other slides, which is called the anticipated broker compensation disclosure and how to use the form notice of broker involved properties. So let me get into the slides real quick, because I do want to make sure we cover these while you're here, and get into the new normal, new listings. And since we did have no sales meeting 2 weeks ago, we'll have a lot more slides today. I do want to appreciate and congratulate your new listing for Henry Liu. This is in Diamond Bar, 7-bedroom estate, 3.7 million. And Henry, I know you were here, if you want to share anything, or Amy, or any of you listing agents, you want to say anything about your listings, you're definitely welcome to just go ahead and start sharing anything or talking. But you have over 1 acre. This is a huge 59,000 lot size estate. I think this is probably in the country of Diamond Bar, one of the most illustrious and prestigious neighborhoods in San Gabriel Valley. Talk to him. 3.7 million is actually not that bad. Go to the next listing. We have Henry having a rent for Monrovia. This is $3,800 for a 4-bedroom, 1742 square feet. Okay. And Henry also has 798,000 for this Temecula single family on 44990 Rutherford. You have a 2248 square foot living area, beautiful home, nice photography. I love the twilight look. Great job. Henry also has this is the same one, 140 Foothill, 3,800 per month. And Margaret and Amy. Amy, you want to talk about your new listing over here in Beverly Glen? If not, we'll continue forward. This is a 1.18 million condominium in Los Angeles. This is 2 bedrooms and 3 baths. Okay, we have Sylvia, you want to share your listing at 2502 Pomona? It's 2 units, duplex, 1,370 square feet.
Yes,
and
here I am.
$980,000.
Here I am. Thank you very much. I was on mute. This is a lovely property. It is situated right in a beautiful heart of Santa Ana, near some high schools and near lots of amenities. This is a property, the 2 units that have been totally redone. They've been tastefully redone from the front door to the back door on both units. The quality of the craftsmanship is amazing. We have the front house, it's approximately 744 square feet, has 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, which is kind of a Jack and Jill setup with an in-unit attached hookups for a washer and a dryer. As you can see on the left side, there's adequate parking. On the right side of the property, there's adequate space for a private yard, or it can also be utilized for potential buyers for some extra space if you want to rent the back unit. The back unit sits over the garage. This is one of the only duplexes that I have seen with such amazing storage. Not only does it have the 2-car garage, but it has 3 extra storage spaces. And this also has laundry hookups down below. The back unit is actually more of a favorite for most people because it has an open space kitchen with an island, and the fixtures and the sliding door, the tornado sliding doors that it has on it, and all the windows with all the open sunlight in there is quite amazing. The high interest of buyers on this property here have actually been coming from Newport Beach and Laguna Niguel. So agents, come out and take a look at it. I've had a couple of broker caravans, and we've had some open houses, even when it was a torrential rain. So the property is here. It's ready for you to view. There's a super lockbox on it as well. And yeah, any other questions that you have on this one, just let me know. Neighbors are quite friendly. It's a very tight community. So thank you for the opportunity to pitch this one.
Okay, you're welcome. And Elaine, she's got a beautiful Monterey Park single family corner lot. Actually priced reasonably, 1,080,000 for 2,251 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and this is a 1496 Trumboer. So talk to her if you have any clients for this single family. Okay, and next one, Jerry and Connie Baker. They have this nice little mobile home for 246,500. This manufactured home is in Laverne. Only it's got 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Okay. And usually these are going to have a land lease fee as well that you pay to the mobile home community. The next one is Sylvia has another one in Pomona. Anything you want to share? Let's keep it to the normal caravan, 45 seconds or less. If you have anything to share, Sylvia. If not, this is 680,000, 2272 Los Flores Street.
Hold on, Kelvin. I was on mute. Sorry. Corner lot available, totally renovated, and it's available. Any more detail you'd like on this property, please reach out to me. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad you're out getting listings still, because this is what the new normal is going to be. You definitely want to be a listing agent. Now, I'll talk more about that later. Winnie Bai has 3630 Maxon Road, El Monte, $2,200 per month for for rent. And this single family home, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. God, is rent that high? Nowadays, I'm looking at the rental rates in just our region, and I'm just noticing how ridiculously high everywhere is starting to become. To be a renter is going to be very difficult. Closers, we got a lot of good closers. We got Henry Liu. He closed 2225 South Electric Ave in Alhambra. This is sold for $1,015,000 for this nice little home in Alhambra. He also got this leased out in Irvine, $5,600 per month. And look at that gorgeous sky. Good job, Henry, for leasing this one out. Michael Liu sold 2803 Foss Ave in Arcadia. This single family sold for $768,000. Steve Hang sold this single family for $688,000 in West Covina, 919 Blue Ash Road. Very reasonable, under $700,000 homes for a 7,500 lot. That's not bad. Good job, Steve. And this is Denham. He got leased out. We have 436 Roosevelt Avenue in Pomona. This is sold at $700,000. This is a single family with a nice 9,000 plus lot. Good job, Jackson Wong. Proud of you. And Jennifer Huang, she sold 1301 Atlantic Boulevard, Monterey Park. Almost $500,000 for this condo. And Meng Lee, he sold 810 Naomi Ave, number 6. This Arcadia condo sold for $798,000. Good job, Meng. He's got less than 2 years in the industry. He's already a listing agent, doing very well for himself. 16220 Sigmund Street, Hacienda Heights. This 8 bedrooms, sold at $912,000. Good job, Jackson. And Kathleen Vuong. She got 738 Orchard Loop in Azusa, sold for $890,000 for this condominium that belongs in, it looks like a single family. 4 beds, 2.5 bath. And this is Denham again. I'm very proud of Edgar and Carla. They got closed 9132 Arrington Avenue in Downey. This tag team duo got this single family sold for $945,000 and it did a gorgeous remodel. Shanae Lam, congratulations on your La Puente closing. This single family sold for $740,000. And Jerry and Connie Baker sold 372 Heather Heights in Monrovia, a duplex for $1,020,000. Julia got this 2043 Sitchell Street, number 2, leased out. Good job. And Julia and Claudia tag teamed 3648 Earl Ave, Rosemead. Did an excellent job for their seller client and got it sold for $1.3 million in Rosemead. Great job. Daniel Wong sold 415 Frankfurt Ave in West Covina, almost 1,400 square feet, single family. Good job in representing that buyer. And he also got 10709 Danbury Street, Temple City. This is 1,000 plus square feet, single family. Any others pitches that any agents want to do or coming soons? If not, I'm going to get back into our slides.
Thank you. I got to go. Happy Easter all. Thank you. Great explanation, everybody. Talk to you later.
Thank you, John. Happy Easter.
All right, so let's get back into the whole settlement stuff. Now that we kind of covered what's happening, we covered who the parties are and covered the defendants of NAR. We covered the new buyer broker contract already. Okay. Now let's talk about the practice of real estate. Let's talk about mid-July, what's going to happen. Well, in terms of our duties, it's still the same. We still have a fiduciary. We'll provide them the agency disclosure. We're still going to have to show them homes, open the doors, write the contract, explain a lot of the details. So none of that changed. The only thing that's added is the renegotiation and the agreement between the buyer broker and the buyer. You're going to have to do what's called an educational session and spend probably a good 30 minutes or an hour. I don't know how long you want to talk about it to elaborate and educate your client how commissions expectations are to be paid / explain. Look, buyer, how about this? I usually will expect, because I'm going to be looking for you for all these homes, to be getting a commission. I don't want you to pay me now. I do request to get paid at closing. And when we write offers and we find that perfect home for you and your family, my expectation is to earn at least roughly 2% at least minimum for the services I render in negotiating contract. And don't worry, I'm a great negotiator. I will be still putting my best foot forward and effort in getting that listing price, an offer, getting acceptance with not only an attractive price, sales price, educate you about the neighborhood values to justify what the price that we offer is going to be very fair. Thirdly, I'm going to help negotiate repairs mid-escrow or negotiate certain things and make my best efforts as if you're my family member. I'll try my best. If we find or discover any surprises or hidden defects or major issues, I'll protect you and we can cancel the transaction and get your full EMD back minus a cancellation fee. Or I'll negotiate repair so that you're happy for it. Okay. I can't promise you that sellers always agree to our request for repairs though, because they don't have to. Let me show you a contract. This purchase contract says they don't even have to respond to it, but most people don't want to an escrow to fall apart. So I'm very good at negotiating. Here's my track record. Here's my history. Let me show you what I've done for buyers. Let me explain to you hypothetical situation number 1 and 2, in which I exceeded the amount of the commission I earned, and I got this credit for the buyer. It happens. I got more than $20,000 from my buyer. I used the roof, or I used the foundation, or I used a mold. I used various tactics to negotiate a better improvement in the price, or a better credit for the client, or for the seller to offer more concessions in closing costs. So those are all strategies in my experience, that I'll pull out of my tool belt, because I have so many tools to help buyers. I wish to help you, and I use all of my tools at my disposal to negotiate and be your best buyer broker that you can find. Don't worry, this 2% is not necessarily paid by you. This 2% or 2.5% buyer broker agreement, I will make the request with our offer to be paid by the seller. But just the small chance, or in the chance the seller refuses to pay it, which the seller is entitled, they don't have to pay it to me, it's something that's negotiable, then this 2.5%, if I can get it paid by the seller, you owe me nothing. But if they only pay me 1% of it, for example, or 0%, then it will come out of your closing costs, or it'll be something that you would be responsible for. But usually, if they're refusing to pay it, that usually means that they're giving you an attractive price. Okay, so that's just how to explain it. Is there any questions you have, buyer? I'd love to explain it now before we spend time, or towards showing a lot of different homes and that I'm going to be showing you. What questions do you have, buyer? And so that's an opportunity to engage. I just did it in 10 minutes. You can make it in 20 minutes if you wanted to, but you do need to have that's going to be the expectation in the future, is you having that discussion regarding commissions and how it's going to work. Any questions right now? If not, I'll jump into the new form. So hopefully you see in front of me, notice of broker involved properties. Okay. This is less important than, let me start with this one actually here. So there is a new form called the ABCD, Anticipated Broker Compensation Disclosure. And this is compensation that if you find properties in the MLS, buyer, I'll be happy to show you all 3 homes that you wanted me to do, requested me to see. Okay, but buyer, I just need you to be aware that commissions paid by seller directly or indirectly through the broker, this will affect the total seller's total costs and expenses for the transaction, and it may impact the price the seller is willing to accept. If for any certain particular property, broker has provided a buyer with a copy of the MLS sheet that identifies the compensation offered to a cooperating broker, I, as a buyer's agent, want to disclose to you how much compensation I will receive at the end of the day. Okay, so this is going to show property 2 and property number 3. I have the client initial, which is my proof that I've shown this property to them on which day. So that proves my procuring cause is what they're trying to establish. What is the source of these properties? Well, they're all in the MLS. One of them offer 2, one of them offer 2.5. This one's 1%. So I would be attaching a CBC for the 2% that I have an agreement with you on. So I'll try to get that 2% from the seller. So if we write an offer on this property address 1, and if we decide address 3 to be the property that we finally get, I have to just share with you, this is my final compensation. It's going to be roughly 2%, $14,000 from the seller, paid by the seller. Okay, so that will relieve your duty to pay that contract 2% to me. This is going to be paid from the seller in this particular transaction. It's a 1-page form. I just acknowledge this. This is something that will be presented to the buyer when you are showing it or when you write the offer. The bottom section is when you are in escrow or about to close escrow and you're determining closing costs and whether the buyer has or does not have a duty to pay compensation to the buyer agent. Any questions on this form? Okay, so that's how you're going to use this form up until July. I expect this form to be probably either removed or modified again, because no longer will the compensation being offered in the MLS. Okay, this form definitely probably will change or be removed or modified, because after July, there's not going to be any percentage of price being offered on the MLS.
Kevin, this form, is it already
Yes.
in the email you emailed to us?
Yes.
Okay.
I emailed it to you yesterday saying, come join
Okay.
us. And I gave all 3 of these filled out, and I completed them to be the most protective for a buyer's agent.
Thank you.
They can be filled out in different ways. Now, notice a broker involved properties is a way to also establish procuring cause on involvement. Remember, I talked to you guys on this form right here regarding broker involvement, non-exclusive representation. This is the buyer broker agreement, buyer represent BRBC. Well, in this form, there is a section for non-exclusivity. So it's only payable if there was broker involvement. Let me define broker involvement. I physically entered and shown the property with a broker. That's one procuring cause of being defined. And then, or I showed it to you property to you virtually. let's say you're in China and I virtually shown you with my Zoom or my camera, here's the property, here's the kitchen, here's the bedroom. That's also a showing. Another involvement, I submitted a signed written offer from you, buyer, to acquire, lease, exchange, purchase, or an option on the property. That's another, writing the offer. Or the property was introduced to buyer by the broker, for which the broker acted on buyer's behalf, and I showed it to you by email. I says, hey, buyer, there's this property, I'm introducing it to you. That is a form of involvement, but just sending listings out does not necessarily deem it broker involvement without documented action on the part of the broker analyzing the property for the buyer, specifically communicating or directly. So I can't just say and say there's broker involvement by emailing them every single home that comes on the market in Los Angeles County. That could be like 200 properties every week. Now, that does not necessarily mean involvement if I auto email them 200 properties a week. You have to write some statement or, hey, let's go check this one out, or specifically say this list of properties I want you to check out because this is Kelvin's weekly picks of nice properties that are good value. Okay. If I email that out to them directly and share it with them, that could be considered involvement. Involvement now, by being after defined, I want to say to the buyer, here is property address of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that we asked to show. And I want that I helped you write an offer, or I showed it to you, or I've been involved in sending these to you. So I want you, buyer, to acknowledge receipt that I was instrumental or I was involved in you that you seen these properties because of me and my actions and services. With that buyer acknowledgement that you shown and you're involved, that's another layer of procuring cause that you have in your back pocket in the event this buyer writes an offer on property number 3 with the listing agent and circumvents you in your sale and circumvents you in getting this property and closing it with the listing broker. With this form, with your buyer broker agreement, you will easily win a claim against that buyer for circumventing your buyer broker agreement. Okay? Because you might have a buyer broker agreement, but if you don't have any acknowledgement from the buyer that you were involved, your claim is not as strong. If you want to have a strong claim to avoid the situation of this buyer going around you, and if you want to prevail in court or small claims, you would want to have this form completed to prove and acknowledge, before I show you this property, we're showing 1 today, we're showing number 2, number 3, and number 4. I already set him up an appointment. Before I open the door on number 1, buyer, can you acknowledge and sign right here for these 5 properties I showed you today and date it? That is your proof and evidence that you have shown them these 5 homes on this day. Okay? That is my advice to you in the new normal if you want to have a strong claim towards a commission. In the small chance, the 5 or 10% chance this buyer happens to go straight to the listing agent or uses an agent from another mother. Okay? So that's my suggestion to you. And it doesn't have to be, if you're showing them 30 homes, you can just use a list and list them all out. This is how you are going to prove another layer of strong procuring cause against this buyer who decided to not use you. Okay. Does that make sense? I know this is annoying. I know this is kind of petty, but it's just actually just teaching us to be better practitioners, because we do want to have something in writing acknowledging the day you showed a property, acknowledging that you were helpful in being involved of introducing this property. And you do want to have protections in place in the event, I already know, all of us who have been in the industry for more than 10 years, all of us have one of our buyers or more who circumvented us already, who went straight to the listing agent, who used a relative instead to write the offer. So we did not learn our lessons back then, 10 years ago or 5 years ago when it happened to us. Now we're going to be forced to become better, forced to show better evidence, and to do this on each case by case basis. It's going to get annoying, but at the same time, it will prevent this buyer from circumventing you because they know what they signed. They know that you've been helpful in introducing them or showed it to them. When they have this notice of broker involvement, they don't know the legalities necessarily yet, but they, they want to get inside that door one before you open the door. So they're going to sign it. They're going to acknowledge, yeah, this is, they're going to sign it. They're not going to go circumvent you because of your contract that you have in place, because of this broker involved. It'll probably be a 0% chance of these buyers circumventing you now. Okay.
Kelvin,
Yep.
I'm watching the chat boxes here, and Andy Fu has a question for you. So his question is relatable. If this is going to be the same practice going forward, do you foresee this happening with the commercial industry?
It's the commercial industry is already doing this. If you look at the LoopNet or CoStar, many of these commercial brokers do not advertise any commission on their database. So this industry will turn into a commercial industry. So commercial practitioners already have this understanding and have already been doing this since day one. Like myself, I call the listing broker, I show it to the property, I get a letter of intent, or I ask the agent and I clarify and negotiate what the rate would be for the commission earned for the cooperating. I get that in writing. Can you email that to me or text it to me, please? And then I send them my letter of intent, my non-binding letter of intent. So yeah, this will turn into a commercial game where you call and negotiate on the ones that you are going to be sending an offer or seriously engaged in. You definitely do want to pre-negotiate with the listing agent. The sad thing is commercial brokers don't respond very quickly and you have to chase them. Okay. They're not very cooperative sometimes. I hate to see this industry of listing agents who don't cooperate anymore. So that's what I'm afraid of.
And I'm hoping and afraid that that's not the direction where the residential listing agents are going to head as well. Kelvin, after this is done, I know this is going to be on YouTube, and some of the agents are asking if you can email them this recording.
It'll be on YouTube. Yep. So any other questions before I conclude today? If you do want to what's called learn more about the buyer presentation script, that'll be something I'll focus on, keys to success training on a Tuesday, 2 o'clock. Because that way I can have some rehearsal, I can have some practice with you guys, I can write a script up for you to kind of to practice on. And secondly, I want you to practice back. I want you to teach me, because you're going to be the one having to go out in the field talking to your buyers. So I'll be the buyer. I want to flip the script, and I want you to convince me why you should be a buyer's agent. Sylvia already offered generously to spend time with any of you. She offered and says, I will help you guys justify your value. Set an appointment with Sylvia. Okay. So learn it, practice it, do some role playing with this, and learn to justify what you're worth. Only if you're going to be a buyer's agent, which is more than half of you. If you're a listing agent, this might help you. Some listing agents might double end a lot of transactions because of this new change, which I don't know why is going to be better for the consumer according to the Department of Justice. I really don't see that. But
right.
Who's to say?
Kelvin,
That's my perspective.
Kelvin, if you're okay, I literally at my Menifee trip yesterday with Coldwell Banker, I was at the table with a lot of broker owners and brokers, and I think there was only 2 managers there, but I asked permission to record one of the staff members that is also a realtor. on his pitch for a broker's commission. If
Okay.
you like, I can try and play it here and see if it works. Would that be okay?
Is it on your computer?
Yeah. Well, hang on one second. I don't think anyone's going to be able to see it, but I'm going to go ahead and play what he says. 1 second. 1, 2.
How long is it?
Friday, I spent like 2 hours because I got this whole list of questions that came out, and a lot of them were just mind-boggling to me. One of the questions that come out is like, what would I do if I want to work with a buyer, but they don't want to pay a buyer's commission? And I'm like, am I being punked? I'm like, don't work with them. Like, I don't know, unless you want to work for free. But again, nobody got into this business to be broke, but if you really start looking at the activities that a lot of agents do, it's not a question of why some of them are broke. So, but anyways, buyer agency, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the fee that I charge for my services is 3%. And oops, I gotta back that out if you guys record that. Is X%. And does not mean that you have to purchase a home. It just means that if in fact you're going to utilize my time, effort, and resources to help you find a home and transact the home, then it means that you're going to have me represent you and I'm going to be compensated at the tune of X%. Now, the seller may or may not be offering compensation, and if they do, that will act as a credit towards the buyer compensation. If it's less, you might have to come in with more. If it's more, then you might get a rebate back. We won't know until we actually have to go through that process. And then they'll come up with whatever questions that they have, and I assure them, like, look, this is the big one that I remember. You don't have to buy a house. All it says, if we're just gonna go through this process, I'm gonna help you along the lines. It just, it's a service agreement to whereas it shows that if you do buy the house, I'm gonna represent you, and this is how it's going to work. Now, I'll be honest with you, most of the time, if it came in lower, depending on what that one was, they wouldn't have to come to the difference. Right? Now, how did I come up with this script? I came up with this script because people wanted to look at for sale by owners. And what's interesting is that now, fast forward, when we're getting rid of.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Calvin, question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nilafar.
When initially with the buyers, when we signed the CBC with them, would it be let me bring up the other form, anticipating.
Okay, I'll bring it up for you.
Should it be when we signed initially, we signed a CBC with the buyer.
The
But
BRBC.
BRBC.
Buyer, this is the
Yeah.
form that you want to be signing with a buyer contract, buyer broker agreement.
Yeah, BRBC.
What's your question?
Is it good while we showing the property using the anticipated the rest of it?
So honestly, this is the least important in my eyes, the anticipated, because I think this is all gonna, there's not gonna be compensation offered anywhere in the MLS in 3 months from now. So I think this is gonna be a moot or a discontinued form, in my opinion. I don't know yet.
So that way
so-
we can show to the buyer that there is no compensation, or this is the compensation that the seller pays.
Yeah, you can
buyer
use this
knows.
at your choice and discretion. You can, when you show a property, this is also another proof of procuring cause that I showed it to you in the initial on
Yeah.
which day. So this is okay for you to use, or they're definitely going to modify this box alone on compensation. My point is, this is a way to see and show buyers that, look, you want to see all 5 homes. Let me show you in transparently how much they're offering to pay. And as you can see, most of them are already paying that 2% or 2.5% that I already asked for. Okay, it was only this single property. If you wanted to go with number 1, you would have to either make it up with me, or split the difference, or I'm gonna still try to make a CBC form and request for 2. So this is a discussion you're gonna have for every showing with Saturday or Sunday or whatever I go out, and you would want to hopefully get this to be initialed and signed by your client.
Great.
Okay.
All right, man.
But
Thank
the
you.
yeah, so that's what it's for. That's the purpose and how to use it. Now it comes to which agents are going to protect themselves and which agents are going to go and rely on faith and relationship. Okay. Because I already know many buyer's agents are going to avoid doing all these. Oh, this is petty. My client is my sister or brother or cousin or friend. I trust them. So many of you will still continue to operate on faith. And that's up to you. Okay. I'm just teaching you, if you're going to be protection, this is how you're going to have to protect yourself. Okay.
Great. Yes.
All right. Any other questions before we end today?
Kevin, I have one question regarding about the BRBC.
Yes.
Yes, we can. Should we do this before we showing property, or should we
Yes.
do better? Should we do better when we offer?
The
offer
BRBC is the practice of this should be done before you even start showing or spending time. But some people may decide to give it 1 day and say, okay, I'll show you the first day. But at the end of the day, if you like my services or you like the way I show you homes or you see how organized I am, at the end of the day, I'm going to ask to sign a buyer agreement. Is that okay with you? But I'll give you a taste of who I am, what the value I offer. I'll point out the pros and cons of the homes that we see, and then I'll risk 1 day with you, and then you go ahead and sign this with me at the end of the day if you like to work with me. If you choose not to work with me, that's your choice too. But I'm not going to show any more homes unless I have an agreement, because just like any dentist or any attorney, we don't give services until we have an agreement.
Okay, so it's very difficult because sometimes when we show 10 listing, none of them they going to offer or whatever. So we make a listing. You said attach the list, So every time we show before, we attach the list, or we every time to sign the BRBC, or we just sign the list.
It depends. I already told you this form, this one form, can be used every way you discussed. So I can protect someone for a whole year of my involvement and exclusive representation with buyer ABC. Or I could choose to use this form one by one for every day I spend with the buyer. So I can only on the following specified properties, and I will list out the 10 homes I show them on Saturday, and I can use this for a 30-day period or a 90-day period or whatever I want. This could be used in all the ways you said. It could be exclusive with the box. It could be non-exclusive where it's just involved. Okay. It could be neither party can terminate with this box checked, or if it's unchecked, either party can cancel this agreement within and then you're not protected if they cancel it, but there is a 30-day for receipt and they can't involve you. So you do want to have an overlap of calendar days, okay, if you're going to decide to not work exclusively. Okay.
Okay.
So it can be all of what you said. You're going to need to learn to use it how you want it. And some clients I might work on a month-to-month basis, and some clients I'm going to protect them under a whole year because there might be someone that I just that's a ultra shopping buyer who's super doesn't write strong offers and writes weak offers. I might need a whole year to protect myself from a client who is loyal to me, but they always write 50,000 under asking. So that shopper buyer, I'll have to protect for longer, but they're loyal to me. Okay, great. I mean, it's up to you how to use it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Be careful. If this client buys in Orange County, because it's not specified on my buyer broker agreement, and they buy in Irvine, I'm not protected. I can't pursue them if they choose to work with someone else. So be careful how you identify your properties right here. Okay. That's my last piece of advice. And anything else?
So it's better not to identify any counties or cities.
I think it's better to do
It's better.
counties as opposed to cities, because counties are larger.
True, but if you don't put any counties, if the person instead of Los Angeles County or San Bernardino buys something in Orange County, you're covered.
Well, then that's why if you can add Orange County in here. You can add San Fernando, you can add San Diego, but at the end of the day, I'm only going to really cover the properties that in our greater region. Or you can, I mean, there's going to be an argument if you're actually chasing someone and you say all properties, all real property within the state of California. Some attorney can argue that you put every property in the whole, you overprotected yourself. So they would argue that. But if you identify as best as you can the local vicinity or counties that your client's looking in, I would just cover those bases with Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange County, Los Angeles, San Fernando, and San Bernardino. But that's up to you. I'm just
And
telling you.
Riverside.
And Riverside, thank you. Okay.
Just to cover all the counties.
Yeah.
All the
you could.
counties I can cover. I think
Yeah.
it's better, right?
Well, then if you put in there all of Southern California, you're overprotecting yourself.
Okay.
No, not all
Well,
the.
I mean, you can write Southern
California.
California and you can argue it. You can just write a price range of $1 to $10 million. Okay. There, that's
That is-
protected. Okay. So you don't have to use counties. You can use price range. But at the
Yeah,
same
but-
time, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know how this is going to play out, but you want to have some protections and define which properties you're going to be showing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kevin,
you should
can
know
we
your client
Kevin,
where they
Kevin
are looking for.
do both? Cover all the counties and then make a list, attach the list,
So
what I show.
so you cover the counties and then you're covering it with the list right here. Here's your list.
Yeah, we can do both.
Here's your
right?
list. Okay, you can list them
Mhm.
out every day you go out with them. Then you show them before you open door one. Okay, acknowledge we're gonna go see 1, 2, 3, 4 today. Here it is. Can I just have your initial and sign right here that I'm involved? Okay.
Yes, I think it's better.
All
I
right.
think the most difficult part is about the commission rate. When we put commission rate on the BRBC, that is most difficult part.
Well, then you show them a few homes that 2% is or 2.5% or whatever is customary in certain different regions. So you can show them, look, you liked 5 of these homes, and look, this is how much they're offering, and that's the expectation the buyer's agent wants to earn. Okay.
So
but-
so Kelvin, question for you on that aspect. So the buyer buys a home that does pay the 2% commission, just like you stated. The buyer buys that home, comes back later and says, you know what, I don't like this home too much. I felt pressured and I feel that your commission was more important. And
My
this is why I bought this home.
Well, that's going to be a situation now where you're coming into a buyer who thinks you're putting your interests above theirs.
Mhm.
Okay. So then you would have a script for that situation. And you would say, no, actually, I'm really trying to fight for your home. Look at the example A, B, and C of what we've already shown. I've given you my advice. I've given you my feedback of the pros and cons of the house. I delivered on my duty of telling you about the neighborhood values, and I gave a CMA to you. And look, when you told me you wanted to write an offer 50,000 under that asking price, didn't I follow your advice and we wrote that offer? We didn't get acceptance, but at the same time, I listened to you. I did your task, and I'm earning my commission. I'm not putting my interests above. I actually technically was upfront with you with my expectation of my compensation. Would you rather me just put an expectation at the very end of the day, the final day, and tell you I want to get paid something, or would you rather someone tell you in advance? Okay.
Thank you.
So To me, I just like things explained to me, and I want to be educated at the process, and that's what I'm going to continue to do for you, buyer. Okay. So that's how we discuss this, and there's different ways of many YouTubers and many great script people and Tom Ferries of the world. I shared some videos with you yesterday to watch YouTube. They'll teach you different scripts. They're going to teach you different ways, and I'll teach you my own. There's no one right way or wrong way. Just remember that there's no one way to do anything. You might have to do
Yep.
one way in English, and you have to do another way in another language. You might have to
Mhm.
explain more about the services you offer. Another buyer, you might have to explain more about the dollars of the commission or percentage you're going to negotiate. You're going to be
Mhm.
negotiating with a lot of different questions from the consumer, who is honestly, most consumers don't even know what's going on right now. All of this is only in our eyes and the affiliates and the agents right now. But you will start, a lot more consumers will get on the same page as us and starting to learn how to negotiate with their buyer's agent. So there'll be people teaching buyers. There's gonna be people teaching realtors how to do your scripts. All right.
Just need more practice.
Yep.
Yes, the more practice, the more comfortable you're going to be with this, and the more you're going to be confident to the point
It's
where
a new normal.
yes,
To be
there's
used to.
there's a lot of no normals.
We're already
Yeah.
right in
We have to
April,
get used to
okay? So
all the
this is
changes.
we only have a few short months before this takes effect. Again, this is a proposal. It's not finalized, but it's anticipated to be acknowledged, signed by the Department of Justice. All right, that's it for
So
today.
many rumors
Mhm.
all the way.
Thanks
So
for
Thank
your time.
you.